Today, they talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, who's done a great job.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we're back here live with Tom Sauer, Navy EOD veteran officer, also a Marine veteran. And we're going through these Jeffrey Epstein emails together. The same way that, when we were in the Navy, we might go through some hot intel, and try to figure it out together. So this next email, it's with Michael Wolff.
Yep.
And he says, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you. This is 2015, on my birthday, December 15th. Epstein responds, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? This is really strange because this is not the type of communication that you'd have with a reporter.
No, it's somebody doing oppo research. That's what they're doing, it seems.
Yeah, but not only that, it's they seem to be he's being interactive with Epstein.
Yeah.
He's not asking Epstein, hey, what's the truth of your relationship with Donald Trump?
Right.
Epstein's going to him and saying, how can I profit off of this?
Yeah.
How can I turn this into the best use for me? And Wolff responds to him.
Yes.
And says, I mean, just from a journalistic perspective, this is really bad.
Right.
Not that I think that anyone thought that he was like a serious journalist, but this is really bad. You're breaking like every code of journalistic ethics.
Right.
He's saying, and Wolff says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it's possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So and by the way, Michael Wolff emails this to Epstein and says, heads up, and marks it high importance.
Right. And that doesn't sound to me like anybody who's a journalist. That sounds to me like a political operative.
Yeah.
That's what that is straight up right there. I mean, well, but then of course we're talking about journalists. It's kind of one of the same.
I read this email,
right.
And it doesn't give me questions about Trump's relationship with Epstein. I have more questions about Wolff's relationship with Epstein. Looking at this, because
did he get an invite?
It's like, I don't know, but right,
he knew how to party apparently. Obviously,
we could ask a lot of questions, but it doesn't read to me like, would you be willing to share with me the details of your relationship so that I can report them? He's not saying that. He's giving him the heads up. I mean, it's very strange.
Yeah, and also this is also what, 2015?
That's 2015,
right? So, this is right when Trump campaign's starting. It's like they threw as much stuff on the wall to see what would stick, and it looked like there was kind of a dead end here with the Epstein stuff. But hey, they got traction with the Russia hoax. They got a lot of traction with that.
So this is prior to the Russia hoax hasn't even really been invented at this point. And maybe it's. Maybe they're kind of kicking it around over at DNI with Clapper and Brennan, or they're saying, maybe we can tie him to Russia. Maybe we'll do that.
No, that's it.
And of course, you got to think they didn't want to bring up Epstein that much.
Yep.
Why? Because
who was
he running against?
Right.
Because he was running against Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So if you bring up Epstein, you're going to get, you're going to get that two for hit. So let's go. So they go to Russia instead. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
See, this is why we. Then 2019. So this is when he's facing his next and what would ultimately be his final arrest. So January 2019, Trump's in office. He's become president. He's been president for a few years, just about 2 years and a couple of weeks at this point. And it says, blank, Mar-a-Lago, blank, Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. And, we don't know exactly what the response is to that. We do know that that's around the time that he was facing another arrest.
Yep.
And we do know a time where it does seem like he's talking about Virginia Giuffre. And I'm just going to say my read on this is that, and it's just true. Where did Ghislaine Maxwell, because I've studied the case, where did Ghislaine Maxwell meet Virginia Giuffre? At Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
She was one of the spa girls.
Yep.
So she met her down there. She was the daughter of a member, and she was working there. And Ghislaine Maxwell, what made Trump really upset is that Ghislaine Maxwell had been poaching employees from Mar-a-Lago by going to them and saying, oh, you work here. Would you like why don't you come work in private? You won't have to work a shift. You can just come work for my client, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
And he'll be your sole client and will pay you more than Mar-a-Lago does. So she goes and poaches the employee. And so
to a teenage girl, that's a good deal.
And so when I read this thing about, we don't, unless I'm pulling it up, I don't see any other, chain here. I just see the one email, so I don't know what he's responding to. So,
which is a tell, by the way.
Why wouldn't that's a great tell. Why would you not have released the full chain of emails, Democrats? Why wouldn't you give me all the information? You're selectively making it look like something is edited so that you can't give me the question he's responding to. And so this is an email without any context, and it says, of course he knew about the girls he asked Ghislaine to stop. Well, the question that I would have is, could he have just been asking about poaching employees?
Very well could have been.
Because we know that's something that, by the way, the Democrats already reported themselves in other leaks.
That was his MO, and that's also, correct me if I'm wrong, that's part of the reason why Epstein got kicked out of Mar-a-Lago, right? It's he was getting a little too frisky with some of the girls.
A little too frisky, and also because he was poaching.
Yeah.
And so, it's obviously something you don't do. Obviously, it's something that, it's something that would certainly annoy him very much because you're stealing my employees, and you find a good employee at the middle of the season. And it's something you want out. Now, that being said, I'm more than willing to entertain that he could have been talking about something else.
Sure.
But we don't know that because they didn't release the other email.
Exactly. And that's the difference with what you do here compared to what any of the clowns over like CNN or MSNBC, all they do is they tell you, they say, here's this email, and it suggests Trump knew about all these things. And instead here, we go through like, well, what did the emails actually say? Let's go to the primary source documents.
You still have to come up to the question of why didn't Virginia Giuffre, in her own testimony, say that she had done these things with Trump if this were all true.
Right.
So once again, ultimately, it's just Epstein trying to pull Trump in and
100%.
implicate him in his own crimes. Jack Posobiec, Tom Sauer, we are here going through the Epstein emails. On Human Events Daily. Right back to America Sports.